Today, we're talking about paying American taxes on your book royalties. And this only applies to those in the United States of America, U.S. citizens, and those living in the United States who have to file income tax in the United States. If you get a 1099 form from a single company for $10 or more, and you have to file a 1040 form for taxes because you make over the minimum amount and are required to file a tax return, you have to list that $10 on your tax form, and you can deduct raw costs for your books from that $10. Say you paid $12 to get a printed proof and you got a $10 royalty. You can take 10 of that $12 off the $10 royalty. Say you got a $50 royalty and you paid $45 in copyright fees. You can write all $45 off that $50 royalty, and then you only have to pay tax on the $5. You can't write your total costs off other income unless you're going to declare a formal business of publishing, in which case then you have to file a Schedule C, a business tax filing, and you can only write off and have a loss for 2 years maximum. After 2 years, the IRS is going to look at you and may come in and do an audit. And if they find that you only make $200 in book sales and you're writing off $10,000 against day job income, they are liable to say that your book publishing business is a hobby, not a business. And you have to refund all that tax dollar and pay interest and penalties. So you do not want to write off for more than 2 years. What you can write off, you have to have a segregated area in your house, a room, say a den, and that's only used by you and only used for writing. You don't use it to chat on the internet. You don't let your kids come in there and play in there. You don't do any television watching in there that isn't associated with the book publishing business or the book writing business. And in that case, you can write off the percentage of your house that room takes up, the mortgage, the insurance, the heating, the electricity. You can write off a second telephone. You have to have a dedicated cell phone or a dedicated line phone that is just for the business. You can write that off. If you go out and pick up books from printers, you can write the mileage off that it takes you to go to the printer and come back, but you have to keep a log, and the log has to be complete. And you can write off any expenses, but you have to have receipts. You have to keep these receipts for 3 to 7 years, and you can write them off. You can cost things off. You can cost off a computer if you need a new computer for your publishing business. You can cost it off your total income. You can also depreciate it for 3 to 5 years. Depreciation is not easy. Depreciation on the federal level is done in one way, and on the state level is done in another way. And believe me, I've done it in the past. It is extremely confusing. If you make $400 in total royalties from 1099 forms in a given year, and this can be from all forms, you can be $50 from Smashwords, $200 from Draft the Digital, $400 from Ingram Spark. That's over $400, but each one individually is not. But a total is over $400. You have to pay self-employment tax, even if you don't have to file a 1040 form because you're, say, retired. But any income you make, $400 or more, is considered self-employment income, and you have to pay, I believe it is 16.3 or 16.5% self-employment tax. That includes Social Security and Medicare. And that means you have to file a form and send that in along with a check for 16.5% of whatever your total was. If you file a 1040 form and have royalties of $10 or more and got a 1099 form, you also have to file a rents and royalties form along with your 1040 form. We once went through a hassle with the IRS over this with the ASCAP royalty check, in which the IRS bounced back the return and said we had to amend it and include a rents and royalties form with the 1040 form. So if you get a 1099 form, you will need to get a rents and royalties form provided you make enough money to file income tax. If you're making under $12,000 a year, I think currently, more if you're married, in a couple of years it's going to be $8,000 again. The income tax deduction is going to drop, from what I understand. So if you make under that amount, you don't have to file a tax return, in which case you don't have to report the royalties or get a rents and royalties form or report that, unless the royalties amount to 400 or more in a given year. And then you do have to file a form and pay the self-employment tax. You can write off, as I said, all your legitimate expenses against your books, your printed proofs, $49 you pay to Ingram Spark, the $45 or $65 you pay to the copyright office. If you lease a program like Grammarly Premium, or like I used to with Word 365, you can write that fee off against your royalties, but only up to and including up to your royalties, unless you establish a formal business, in which case you can write off against day job income. If you make, $40, $50, $60,000 a year at a day job income, you can write your total costs of the publishing company off against that for at least 2 years. In your third year, you better show a profit. It doesn't matter how much, but you better show a profit. And you better show a profit after that. 3 years out of 5 that you have to show a profit. 2 years out of 5 that you could show a loss. Business luncheons have been modified. You can only take part of that off if, for example, you're a publisher and you take a writer out to lunch or dinner. You can only take part of that off. You need to check with the IRS and see what the current rules are for that, for business lunches and business dinners. This covers basically what Americans, U.S. citizens, and foreigners living in the United States who have to pay income tax in the United States have to do when it comes to the royalties you make from book sales. If you found this interesting, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.